Mr. Littlefield.
Firstly, on behalf of Cure Brain Cancer Foundation, I'd like to extend our appreciation for the invitation to appear before you today. Many of those intimately involved with brain cancer may find it strange that representatives from our community are presenting here today. Why? Simply because our primary concern at this point in time is not access to new medicines, because we really don't have any. There is, in essence, only one medicine for brain cancer, and that's already available on the PBS, a big tick. Although we recently discovered that it only works on about 30% of patients. Obviously not ideal, but better than no drugs at all. Consider that for a second, though. One medicine for a disease which in Australia kills more children than any other, and more people under 40 than any other cancer. For a disease that, even with the standard of care treatment, kills the large majority of people within just 16 months. For a disease where the majority of children with DIPG, a brainstem glioma that I know some of you are familiar with, have only months to live. It is, I'm sure you would agree, unacceptable. We have no idea what causes brain cancer, we can't prevent it, and we can barely treat it. The current standard of care includes surgery and radiotherapy, both of which have a high risk of inducing permanent damage to the brain. For those few, inverted commas, lucky enough to survive 5 years, life, such as it is for them, can be very, very hard. They are often highly compromised, both physically and mentally. In addition, just to add insult to injury, brain cancer as the highest cost per patient cancer often reduces families to poverty, as family members have to stop working to care for their loved ones with their very high care needs. As you can imagine, with this situation, it isn't surprising that we do not have any current patients with us here today. Few are able to advocate, as quite frankly and appallingly, most do not survive long enough, and if they do, they are understandably often not able to help. So why are we here? We're here because, sad as the current situation is, the future is looking increasingly bright, although we do admit that this is not difficult coming off such a low base. There is a feeling within our research and clinical communities that we're on the cusp of something important, something that will propel us towards achieving our mission to increase 5-year survival from the current 20% to 50% by 2023. Much hard work has and is being done by scientists, researchers, clinicians, patient advocates, carers, families, and people living with brain cancer. With the emergence of personalized medicine and the developing field of immunology, we believe that new medical options are just around the corner. We are here because we cannot contemplate the devastation that would be caused in our community if, after all the hard work of so many around the world to discover and bring new medicines to market, that these new medicines are made available overseas while people living with brain cancer in Australia are unable to access them here in a timely, affordable, and equitable way. In essence, we want to avoid the situation where Australians with brain cancer are, in effect, condemned to death through lack of access to life-saving medicines, while those with brain cancer in Europe or the US are able to survive. People with brain cancer do not have the luxury of time. Delay in access will cost lives, and that is unacceptable. Our submission, brief as it is, highlights the need for action to be taken in the 4 specific areas, which my colleague will briefly run through.
So we centre around 4 recommendations. Firstly, we'd like to make it simpler, easier and quicker for patients and for doctors to access off-label medicines. So as treatment methods are changing and they're moving to more of a pan-cancer approach, that is treating the body part where the cancer, not the body part where the cancer is, but treating the mutation through molecular profiling, we need new mechanisms of accessing drugs that may be available for cancer types. An example could be a mutation that is similar to in melanoma, and a melanoma drug may be suitable for a brain cancer patient. Secondly, we want to ensure significantly earlier access for people living with brain cancer to new drugs outside the clinical trial process. So when we do find something that does work in brain cancer, we want to ensure that it does arrive to Australian patients as quickly as possible. Thirdly, we want to ensure equity of access to off-label use of currently approved medicines and new medicines for children with low prospects of survival and or high morbidity, including brain cancer. So children are often not allowed to enter these clinical trials because they must be tested on adults first. We believe that patients have a higher propensity to risk and they should be able to access these clinical trials and new medications. And fourthly, brain cancer, there's in the UK and Germany, there's been the Early Access to Medicine scheme, and through the Promising Innovative Medicine status, a new drug called ICT-107, which is an immunotherapy, has been given, is able to be accessed by patients outside the clinical trial process in parallel while the clinical trial is happening. And that is the basis of our recommendations.